Welcome to the February meeting of the Commission on Aging. Thanks to everybody for being here. Our first order of business is the discussion of the January minutes. Changes? Peter.
In four places, Sue Oki is referred to as Miss Costin. So the recording secretary misidentified Sue's remarks as Costin's.
Got it.
And then the other change is on the legislative report is a sentence that says another inaudible location would start on February 1st. The inaudible location was the Weed Branch of the Stanford Library.
Got
Those
it.
are the changes.
Thank you, Peter. Any other changes?
Nope.
Hearing none, can I have Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Peter? Susan, thank you. Thank you, Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Beth's not here yet. We'll see if she makes it. So I'm going to skip ahead to Human Services report. Ally.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So I think Cynthia was here for me last
Yes.
month because of the mental health first aid training. But I think she mentioned that a new training that we're doing is called QPR. It's Question, Persuade, and Refer. I'm going to give you each a flyer. So this is a 90-minute training for anyone, and it's geared it's focused on how you intervene with somebody who might be having suicidal thoughts or in a mental health crisis. It's free, and we're going to be offering it monthly. Paula Sutliff, the public health nurse, retired right before this was supposed to happen because we were going to do it together, but now Cynthia is going to be trained. So we're going to try to do it monthly because it's only an hour and a half, whereas the mental health first aid that we do is 8 hours, and that's a big time commitment. So I brought these to pass out.
Nice.
And I also want to think about doing it down at the senior center, because this isn't just focused on kids, this is adults too, right? So I think maybe one time we can do it down there just for the convenience of the seniors and stuff. But
Is there any way to do it at the high school or?
well, you can only do up to 30 people.
Yeah.
Oh, no, in the people who attended this time?
No, at the high school.
Why the high school?
Just thinking of where quite frankly, where we've had the issues, right? At least
Oh.
recently, okay?
Right.
And so my question would be, just knowing my own kids when they were high school students, would they have come to the town hall for such training?
Right,
Could we have something done at the Darien High School auditorium at some point
right.
for those kids to recognize when their friends might in fact have an issue?
Well, this is for people 18 and over.
Okay?
But so there is a different, module, I guess, that is geared towards kids, but
Yeah.
it's much more complicated, just like mental health first aid, because if you're giving the kids these tools, then you're also I feel like putting pressure on them that, okay, if someone comes to you and something happens, I don't know, I kind of feel
Fair,
like if you
yeah.
really care, but they do have it, but this is geared towards, but it can still be applied, but actually, so, all of the Darien Public School nurses came to this program. Dr. Adley was there and
Nice.
various other people, but 2 years ago, they actually had an outside, it's called the Hub, it's the Regional Mental Health Advisory, I forget what their title is, but they trained 1,000 members of the school staff, the custodians to administrators. So, and actually now, some of the head of nursing, Emily Merritt, and Alicia Dad, the director of mental health, might be trained also to do it more. But so it's open to anyone in the Darien community or anyone who serves the Darien community. So I'll pass these around to you
Thank
guys.
you.
So it's up to 30 people, and it's useful. People find it useful. 90 minutes. We hope to get as many people in the community as possible to attend. So.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that. That's great.
No, and I'm excited Cynthia's she's doing her training the beginning of March, so it's March 27th from 10 to 11:30 in 206. And then nothing else really, the usual, we're still doing energy assistance. I don't know if I should even say this, I'm knocking on real wood. We haven't had to call the emergency call list yet, but,
Oh, it was a close one.
what?
It was
I know.
a close one.
I know that, or this Thursday they were talking, yeah. So, again, every year we do get a few more people added to it, but please don't hesitate if your neighbors, friends, family, or yourself want to be on it. Like I've said before, we personally call each one on there. If there's power outages or things like that, then we'll call to check on them, and then we work, if there is an emergency in the town, with the Emergency Operations Center, and we'll try to prioritize those people with Eversource and whatnot.
I would imagine fuel costs are really a problem now, too.
What, fuel?
Fuel costs, because of the low temperatures.
Yeah.
We're all running our furnaces high. I just got my bill, it's pretty high.
Yeah, I keep my house cold. Poor kids. But, yeah, well, we still have lots of people coming in for energy assistance. Yeah, that's about it. And of course, our loan closet, every day, I feel like there's someone coming or dropping off, donating or getting stuff, so it's really just taken off.
Give me an idea, just for the people on TV 79, the kinds of things you're looking to have dropped off.
Okay, so what we do carry is like transport chairs, which are the lightweight wheelchairs
Mhm.
that you can get in and out of your car easily. Real wheelchairs have those big, heavy, most people don't want those.
Right.
Those are the ones you propel yourself. Then we have tons of walkers. We don't really need that many right now, but, so now if we're giving them out, we're like, you can keep it because we only have so much storage space. Things like commodes or shower chairs, we only take them if they're new, and then we don't put them back for hygiene
Right.
purposes.
Right.
And canes, crutches, we have lots of those, but those are the things that we have.
So to be very blunt, this would be for people who are perhaps moving their senior parents into assisted living, who
Mhm.
have these kinds of things, or sadly where their parent passed away,
Yep.
and they're dealing with an estate sale, and they come across these issues, these kinds of items. Those would be the kinds of things you'd be looking for.
Exactly. Oh, we also, knee scooters are popular.
Okay.
So it's not just seniors, we have
Right.
adults who are getting surgeries done and stuff like that, so,
Mhm.
but yeah, and then people want to get rid of the equipment and get it out of their house.
Sure.
So,
Okay,
so,
great. What a
That's
great,
all I
it's a
have.
great thing. Thank you for doing
Yeah.
that. Awesome.
that's all.
Other questions for Ally?
Well, the other important partnership there is Wheel It Forward.
Oh, yeah.
And Wheel It Forward takes more complex equipment, like ramps, for example.
Hospital
and
beds.
Hospital beds. So again, it's really, and reach out to Ally, I mean, for anything, because we're in partnership with Wheel It Forward.
Okay.
They're in the industrial park 3 miles away from us in Stamford.
Mhm.
Great.
I know you work very closely with Elliot
Yeah.
Sloyer, so.
Yeah, they're a nonprofit also, and that's open to anyone. Ours is obviously only Darien residents, but, so sometimes when people do want to donate things to us that we can't use or that we have too many of, we'll tell them to bring it to Wheel It Forward. Or we refer people there if they're looking for stuff that we don't have.
Great. Thank you, Ally.
Okay.
Other questions for Ally? Hearing none. I'm going to skip ahead. Sue, do we have friends here who want to speak on something?
We do.
Okay.
Yep, the Royal, let me pass out some of these, recently changed its snow removal policies, and they have asked all residents to clean their cars and between the cars whenever there is a snowstorm. And this is very difficult for some of the residents. In the past, they had a service that not only cleaned the cars, but in between the cars. Now they're asking the residents to move their cars so that they can sweep through and plow the whole parking area in one clean sweep. And this is just a challenge for a lot of our seniors. And my friend Ann here is and Margaret have difficulty doing this, and they wanted to come to us to see whether we could help them have the Imagineers think about changing this policy.
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to address this specifically, Ann, or?
Wanna
Well,
come on in?
I'd like, and Chris could address it, we had a long discussion about it, and I have different phraseologies of things like footpaths and pavements yesterday. We had my idea of it being more European, you know, I use different terms for things. So I would like Chris to speak on it, I've taken him through everything, if that's okay with you, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we went through everything.
Yeah. So we work with a number of seniors at the Royal, 15, 20, different ways, transportation, shopping, et cetera. And we've received some calls, typically after the last snowstorms, about potential volunteer help to shovel. And we have a snow shoveling volunteer program, typically students who come in and do the public sidewalks. It's very difficult to get volunteers on demand. It just snowed, whether it was planned or not. to come in and do that. So we really haven't been able to provide much support or a solution for that. And I know one of our volunteers who lives in the Royal had actually shoveled one day. So I've spoken to a few people at the Royal, and I don't want to go too broad on this, but there are a couple of other things that were brought to our attention, which I don't think we've been able to help, will be able to help, but probably for the commission to look at. In particular, I think 4 or 5 people in the Royal, maybe more, have issues with their floors. Floors are buckling. One of our members, who's 93, I think, actually fell and said it was because she had stepped on this. It's like the linoleum or the flooring is kind of bubbling up. So when you step on it, it's squishy. So that was a concern that was brought to our attention. And I think communications too. You know, we were talking about the snow shoveling and just trying to understand who's involved between the town, probably not, but the builder and then Imagineers and then the feet on the street, people who manage it day to day. So I would say there's also maybe communication concerns that you have, and just are those floors being addressed? Is it being communicated in terms of what's happening? But the snow is a particular challenge, obviously, because if I understand, the plows come through and then they will plow in the cars, and it's one of the reasons they sent this around. They asked people to move their car, which isn't a real solution because I don't know where anybody would bring their cars.
Yes, there's not even enough spots.
Yeah.
Right.
So, again,
They
this,
would toot at us to bring us back, to get our cars and bring them back.
Yeah.
It's a 3-story building.
yeah.
But if you catch them in the morning, which I was doing, and what's good, hey guys, clean that car, clean that car. I just, you know, she's pretty bad, she can't go anywhere near the car. And she's like walking on ice because there's a dip where she parks and it's always covered in ice, so it's not safe for her.
Mm.
So I make sure her car's done and that, and we just, you know, give them a few bucks. But it's catching them. You know, she paid the other day and none of them, and I pulled the guy out of the snowplow, in that car. So it's early in the morning, 7 o'clock, and I have to leave my invalid husband upstairs by himself. I'm down trying to get everybody that needs their car.
So,
Is this is a new policy? This is
Yeah.
new?
Correct.
Yes.
In the-
So what did they do in the past?
Well, I think they had a good setup in the past, but now it's different.
They had a person originally there, I've been there rather long time.
Okay.
for the last week, who actually did all the cars, and I work full-time, so I leave it between 8 and 8:15 in the morning, and everything would be perfect. Cars, no snow, no ice, no nothing. And
So-
we got rid of him when Imagineers
Cut costs.
came in.
One person.
And there was no excuse about scratching the cars or anything mentioned at that time. This is an excuse that's brought up now for having gotten rid of the old people. But I believe Imagineers said, oh, we can get somebody cheaper.
Is this a new property manager, Imagineers? I'm not familiar with the term.
Well, I know one lady's waiting 4 years to have her floors, you mentioned.
They're not, it's
No, they're
not.
not.
Imagineers took over when they
Is it a property manager?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and they're, I don't know who actually pays them, but they're hired, I guess, by the housing authority.
Yeah.
Now, there are people who come in immediately when, because we've had a lot of snow this year, obviously. And it's accumulated to 12 inches total, I think, or something around that. And they come in whenever the snow stops, and they do the footpaths / pavements round the building.
You do a good job.
And I understand that they're public works, and you assume that.
I never followed through to see what.
I don't think it'll be the town.
it was, Ann, we had the conversation yesterday, and so I followed up on that. I wasn't able to connect with Public Works, but I was told that it's not Public Works, that that's part of the same landscaping group that comes through and plows.
That's right, yeah.
Oh,
you're right.
really?
Mhm.
Because
But
it's
they
private
said
property,
they come,
so
they
public.
come immediately the snow is done, and they just do the footpath around the building.
Yeah, and they do a good
That's
job.
all. Unless you can get them, but 4:30 in the morning, they woke me up because they were actually, they had a snow blower. And I went out and I didn't speak English very well, so I wrote it all on an envelope and I told them the parking spaces to do, gave them some money, and it was never done.
And I came down after that and grabbed the plowman, but doesn't do it. I says, I hadn't known that she had already paid them, so I paid them again till at least we got our cars done, right?
This is a different plowman than the
Just
First
there's-
spot.
Different people.
They-
who-
They're
And so
probably
there's-
part of the same
Yeah.
landscaping. They probably have a
Where
group that comes in a pickup and
I didn't know. they were
shovels,
the
and then
same
the guy who with the
Landscapers
plow,
do the plow,
I guess.
yes.
I didn't read this whole thing yet, but I think what I've heard in the past is like that they say that they wouldn't clean the cars off because of liability, right? But maybe
But
you
that
could sign a
was never
waiver or
true.
something,
That was,
right, saying you're not
true
responsible.
When Imagineers came in, that's what they
said, yeah.
Excuse, I don't call it a truth, an excuse for not doing it. Because you can, if you have to have your car, like disabled people do, you can sign a release
Right.
and do it
Yeah.
for all sorts of things for
Right.
people, But, oh no, we can't do that. They just absolutely will not do anything to help us.
Joe, after hearing all this and speaking to, a lot of the members, that, certain things, we can't do certain things, clearly, but the two things, the safety things really were the concerns. The ice, if it's around the cars, that's one thing. But also the floors, and, I've heard different things that they are trying to repair those floors, but for a couple people, it's been a long time, 2 years. And the one woman I saw her, she'd fallen, it cut her head and hurt
Did she
her.
hire a lawyer?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah,
On
absolutely.
this fall business, okay,
Yeah.
I've got to be very, very blunt, okay? Anybody who falls due to a defect brought on, hello, all you Imagineers people on TV. Anybody who falls should be hiring a lawyer to sue the crap out of these people, okay?
Right.
That's what's going to change this,
Yeah.
okay? Once they realize they've got premises liability with seniors for linoleum that's rising, they'll do it. Until somebody brings a lawsuit, we can bang our heads against the wall, okay? Sadly, you're saying, oh yeah, Pankowski, wait for somebody to bang their head again. I get it, okay? But at the same time, realistically, that's what people understand, okay? I was in this room in 2008, okay? What did I say? You guys have massive liability at Edgerton Street. Massive liability. You guys aren't taking care of things, you're letting things leak, people are slipping, you're gonna get freaking sued. And guess what? They started addressing some of those issues and we finally got the Mather Center. It takes that threat of litigation to get these folks to move. I'm not sure the snow thing is the same thing. I don't think it is. Snow is a natural condition. A linoleum floor rising in a kitchen is not a natural condition. That's a screw up, okay? So I'd encourage, especially the woman who banged her head, okay, to meet with a lawyer, okay? Because she's still within the statute of limitations, okay, whenever this happened.
There is a bit of difficulty dealing with Imagineers. Because the people who are in these buildings are not in by choice, they're in by
Yeah,
necessity, as
right.
you understand.
Sure.
So they're fearful of reprisal, and there has been reprisals. That's what I'm saying.
Well, all I'm saying is that with respect to that, it's going to take a gutsy senior, okay? Because we don't have standing to bring a lawsuit against Imagineers. None of us, we're all members of the Commission on Aging. We have not been actually injured by this, okay? It does require someone who has this issue with the floor who's actually fell, okay, and said, I've been injured, I have damages, I'm willing to find an attorney who's going to bring this lawsuit, okay, to basically make these guys clean up this problem. And once they get sued, they'll look at other things and go, oh, we don't want that again. It's cheaper to fix the linoleum than it is to fight these lawsuits.
The other question I have,
Yes,
where's,
unfortunately, it is a reprisal issue.
Can
As
you
far
give
as
Can you
I
give
see.
me an example of a reprisal without naming the person?
I can't say anything directly.
Okay, so I can't help you there. I don't know what the reprisal is, so. I mean, it could be any.
I think they're afraid that they're going to be told they no longer have the apartment.
Fair, okay. I mean, that's a legitimate reprisal. Fair, I agree. I think that if it was brought within the context of a lawsuit, they would not be making that threat. Okay, in other words, they now have an attorney who is basically saying, now I've got more damages. You're threatening to throw this person out of their place, right? So that's what I would encourage on the linoleum thing. I can't see the Commission on Aging realistically doing much on that. The question I have is what is we as a commission can do about the snow issue,
Right.
okay? Because the snow issue is a change from a previous plan. Do we know the name of the person who was doing the snow plowing previously?
I don't.
It's a
we should have-
landscaping company, what's
No.
the, I forget their name. It's the landscaping that takes care of the summer and winter.
No, but the
Currently.
previous person.
Oh, the previous, no idea.
No.
Okay, that's what we need.
Myrna would
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
Myrna would know, because she was there at the time. Whether she'd tell anyone, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, what we have to do is offer a solution. We have to go back to them and say, last year you had X. Last year,
But it was before Imagineers took on.
how long ago
This
was
is
this?
At the old
It would
town
be
hall
before-
time,
Yes.
before they moved
It
into the
would
new.
be-
It's more than 5 years, right? It was
Yeah.
before
Yes,
COVID.
it is more. than
Okay,
five.
so this is-
5 to 6 years.
6
So have we
years,
gotten
maybe?
letters like this before 2025? Did they send out these in
Never said
2014?
anything on snow.
Okay, got it.
But since we came back into this new building, they, they had the first 2 years, there was one snowfall a year. It wasn't anything much,
Mhm.
so it didn't come up. But this year is being exceptional
Yeah, horrible.
and very difficult.
Sue?
The Housing Commission should be involved in this as well. They
Okay.
own the property, they oversee, if I'm not mistaken, they oversee or hire these property managers, right? Am
I
correct?
believe so, and indeed, initially, I directed all of this to Peter Bigelow, who is the treasurer. And his response was that they can't clean the cars because of the liability.
Who's the-
You can sign a release.
He's the treasurer of the Housing Commission
Housing Authority.
or Housing Authority?
Yeah.
Who's, but
Joe
there's,
Warren is the head, the president of the, I guess it's the
Well, it's the
president. is
chair. It would be the
title.
chairman.
The chair.
yeah, it's an
And he lives
appointed-
there, and
It's an
he-
appointed commission by the Board of Selectmen,
Mhm.
appoints the Housing Commission.
Correct.
And he resides there, right?
He resides there, and was concerned about this as well, no, Ann?
Who?
Joe Warren.
And he's not well. He doesn't keep.
Well, have you been to the Housing Commission? Have,
I don't know if he's still the head of it. He told me that he only has responsibility for the meetings, the meetings that are held.
Well, there used to
but-
be somebody in the basement who was the.
That was before Imagineers.
yeah.
Okay, that's gone?
Yeah.
All right.
And do
The
Imagineers
Housing Authority used to be like.
manage
legal
other
managed,
properties
yeah.
in town?
There has been
The
a
Heights.
few meetings, people.
And do we have issues at the Heights? Did
Well,
they get the
but
same?
They don't
There's a
have
big
the,
change.
they don't have the seniors that, that
Ah.
Well,
they
there are
do.
seniors at
This-
the Heights.
This is our senior housing.
I know,
55 and
but
up.
the Heights
It says-
has senior housing, not
Seniors.
No,
exclusively.
No, it's,
But there are
Open to
plenty of
everybody,
seniors
yeah.
out there.
But there are seniors that live there.
I
It
guess.
says Joe Warren's the chairman.
Yeah.
Peter Bigelow's the treasurer. Contact us, Peter Bigelow, chairman, Joseph Warren. So it's
Sue's
him.
done that. So I've seen the emails between Sue and Peter. She's, as always, a very strong advocate. But that really was more of a brick wall. So the question becomes, what are we as a commission going to do? Quite frankly, are we rattling the cage of the Housing Authority? What are we doing with the Imagineers? I mean, that's a question. With all due respect to you guys, ain't gonna happen this year, okay? Realistically.
But it's almost the end of January.
I'm saying, thankfully, it's February 19th, so we don't have too many more, maybe hopefully 2 or 3 more. But the goal would be,
Spring, right?
by next year, by November, to try to figure out how we get this solved, okay?
Yes.
And so, I'm open to suggestions, what you guys think we should do.
Well, it's Imagineers, I think. It's not the Housing Authority.
Okay.
Imagineers is the ones, the Myrna
Yeah,
works
yeah,
for.
But the Housing Authority hires
Exactly.
them.
Yeah, the whole
Yes.
thing is a little nebulous, like how the whole thing really works to me. It's a little confusing. I don't even know if nebulous.
Somebody,
Right, but-
the Housing Authority is probably, at least when I was on the Housing Authority, they're the ones who are hiring the property manager. The Housing Authority is not doing their job, then we should go to the Board of Selectmen and
Okay.
say, the Housing Authority,
Isn't
they're
doing their
not
job.
doing their job.
Yep.
And the only thing, we have no sticks, all we can do is
Right.
lobby
Right.
and make a lot of noise.
But it's the same issue. We had, the woman who signed this came and talked to the Commission on Aging when we brought them in to try to understand.
To try to open
how-
the waiting
Try to
list.
open up the waiting list. And if you recall, we never basically got a satisfactory answer back from the Imagineers, and her in particular, about this. And I agree.
They're
You,
inadequate.
we can, the safety issues we can raise as a commission because we're representing seniors, but at the end of the day, solving the problem, it's clear what's happened. It has nothing, the liability has been there forever. So this year, they suddenly woke up to the fact they have a liability issue, so they're not gonna do this any longer? Well, you can't just arbitrarily then send out this letter. Well, I guess you can, but whether or not it has the authority through the Housing Commission to do this, I think that's a question to be asked. The second issue is, I will almost guarantee you, it has to do with the fact they're cutting expenses. There used to be a person that did that, and guess what? That person is no longer on the payroll. So somewhere they have made a financial decision and to cut services.
So,
And the idea
The
of,
new manager, though, that's just not been here shortly, she's taken charge of things much better than anyone. So she's getting things done.
what is her name again?
Marisol.
Okay, so that
She's
Maris.
good.
Myrna was the one who came here.
She came
She's
here.
been around for a long
Myrna
time.
is training
She came from-
Marisol.
Right.
Oh,
So she's
okay.
still gonna roll up, yeah.
And indeed, I tried to interview, I wanted to write an article for Out and About, and I asked to interview Marisol, and she refused to did not return any of my phone calls, so I spoke to her, the woman who's in charge of, up in Hartford, who said that she felt uncomfortable being interviewed and that she wasn't required to talk to me. And so that was the end of that. But going back to the liability, scratching the cars is one liability, but having a senior fall and break their hip trying to clean out between the cars is a huge liability, much more severe to me than scratching cars.
Right, and like you've said, why couldn't people sign waivers saying, you're not responsible if you scratch my car?
But that doesn't help shoveling in between.
No, I'm saying, so then if we
Yeah,
get them,
yeah.
to right, so if they're saying they don't want to clean the cars because it's liability, like you said, you sign a waiver, right?
I'm still confused about one thing. You said the landscapers do the area around the paths. But it sounds like
They're
another
brilliant.
another company does the other,
I thought it
generated
was
this letter.
I think it's one and the same.
It's the one and the same.
It's like in
Just
town.
different
If
ways.
snowplows, private snowplows, if you notice, they have two people. One guy is driving the snowplow, the other guy jumps out with the shovel
shovel.
and does walks and
So it's the
ensures.
same
They're
company.
completely different.
No, I understand that. She's asking the question about.
If it's a different
it-
company.
It's a different, and it's
Oh,
not
I
a
see.
different company, it's the same
Yes, I
company.
hadn't realized that.
It's
That
just
makes
that
it
they are no
easier,
longer
okay.
providing a service that they used to provide.
Right,
And we don't think they're public works, they're
It's not.
out of it, yeah.
that clarifies it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't, I was told that.
Sue, it probably doesn't matter, but just out of curiosity, talking to different, does the town still own the land?
They do.
I haven't been on the commission for 20
Okay.
years, so I couldn't tell you, but.
Okay, that's a sense.
They do.
They own
They own the land.
property.
But then
the
it's
ground.
the McClutchy, I don't know whether
McClutchy's the
they're
builders
involved with hiring
have leased it.
Imagineers or whether it's solely the Housing Authority. Because they're the
What
Mc-
about-
McClutchy is Imagineers. Anderson and McClutchy are Imagineers.
Anderson?
Yeah, wasn't
Anderson
it
and
Arthur
McClutchy.
Anderson? I think it was Arthur Anderson.
Yeah.
Remember when we were doing all the move and like we had the meeting with, was it John McClutchy? I think it was
Yes,
John.
John
He's a builder,
McClutchy,
right?
he's
No,
CEO.
they're Imagineers.
No, McClutchy's are builders. They built the property. And as I understand it, they leased it from the town of Darien for
Right.
40 years.
Right.
So
I don't know,
they-
it's very confusing,
It is very
obviously.
Well,
here's the
Yeah,
question.
that's
Take
how
another
it was.
action
Keep it
item.
confusing.
Yeah, she's after.
This letter came from this person,
She's the property
right?
manager.
Okay, from Imagineers.
She's
Right.
property manager.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so I would suggest we ratchet, okay? First is a letter to her, okay, on behalf of the Commission on Aging, okay, saying you gotta address this. We know you can't address this year, but you gotta address it.
Right.
Well, they could
If we
address
get,
it this year.
highly unlikely at this point, to hire somebody to come in for 1 month, probably not gonna happen. But I mean, if they do it, amazing, okay, great, yes, please do. But realistically, I'd start with her, I get no response. I think we jump into the housing authority. I would argue, given her background, thing, Sue, are you willing to be our representative at the housing authority if we do that?
Yeah.
Then, if that doesn't work, up to the selectmen. Are you willing to do the selectmen as well? Yes, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna ratchet this, okay? First, we're gonna do this letter, okay? With your permission, I'll draft based upon this wonderful letter here. Thank you for that, okay? And I may even attach this letter to it, okay? And we'll see what happens. What kind of response will we get? Hopefully, they're smart enough to say, oh, yes, starting next year, we will do this again. Thank you for your concern, okay? If they don't, then we put our bulldog Sue to work, okay? All right? And we say, Sue, go for it. We go housing authority, first selectman, okay? Because it's gonna have to be rattling cages
Right.
to actually make this work.
Well, just the fact that you can't, in one session, explain the connectivity here
Yeah,
is a problem.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you ought to be able, if you're a tenant
Right.
of Imagineers, you ought to understand there's a
Who's
clear
involved?
path by which, if I have a problem, we go through and what is that process and who is involved and who ultimately has authority here. That's a question I have.
That's a
We,
very good question.
if the housing authority has authority, then by God, they should be acting upon that authority. Because Joe, you're right, if they get sued, how's that gonna reflect on the housing authority
Totally
also?
bad,
This happened
right.
on their watch.
Correct.
And I would copy them on that first letter.
Oh,
I would
absolutely.
copy
Good
everybody
idea.
on that first
Yeah.
letter. I would even include the Board of Selectmen,
no,
to be
agreed,
honest.
agreed.
I would think
Yeah.
that.
Just so they
Just
know
seeing
what's
the CC
coming.
on the
Right.
whole
I would
thing.
think that
Yeah.
Imagineers that would wake them up to see that all these other people got copies.
Exactly.
Yep, all right, so we'll
And
copy
as
the
we
world
wrap
on
it
it.
up, they
Yeah.
can see, we
All
did
right.
this first.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anything else we can do for you guys?
Well, since you asked.
And I know there are a lot of issues with the building, and I guess.
Well, no, that wasn't really a question, okay? It was just, we've done what we can do today, okay?
Yes.
Because I think, quite frankly, everything else, if it's within that center, is going to be back to what I said before. It's gonna have to be addressed by somebody who actually, I know. But the problem is, at the end of the day, the Commission on Aging has a big project here, which is snow plowing, which we can
Yes.
rattle.
Yes, that's-
But getting down to 317 has a linoleum issue. Opens the door to everything else that goes on in that building, right? And that's a housing authority issue, right?
Exactly.
And Imagineers.
Yeah, right.
I know, I'm with you, and I'm still encouraging that lady who bumped her head to retain
It's
counsel.
not gonna happen.
I get it, okay, well, that's it, all right. Thank you very much for
I
coming.
mean, a letter to the editor would be good too.
Awesome. Moving on, Peter, you got any old business for us?
I do.
Okay, are you home? Are you with Peter?
Kathy and I were at the Darien Library last night on
Okay.
dealing with managing blood issues,
Okay.
which again,
Okay, well,
this was done by Norwalk Hospital. If you're in see a bleeding situation, how do you apply tourniquets and things like that?
Mm.
Again, just very basic things, but again, good information going on in town. It was very well done and informative. Tax aid, the Darien Library, they've had 10 sessions. They've had 411 registrations.
Is that up
Yeah.
from last year?
Pardon?
Is that up from last year? Is
Uh,
it up from last year?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I would
Um,
expect.
Yeah.
And at the Weed Branch, the Stanford Library on Saturday, we had 17 slots and there were 17 people waiting on the porch at 10 o'clock in the morning, as cold as that was, so that we could do that. So again, it's really in demand. And just for our viewers, to simplify it, it's any age, it's any income level, it has to just be a simple return. So if you're a day trader, if you're dealing in Bitcoins, if you have a business where you're running inventory, or if you have rental properties, they can't handle it. But any other normal tax returns, they certainly can. And
Thank you so much.
Well, they're welcome.
It's
Have a nice
My
day.
husband's still alive.
it's just a question of going online and registering yourself. Again, some have walk-ins, most are by appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Legislative update. We spent Monday in Hartford looking at legislative issues. There were 3,200 bills in the House and the Senate. They've been narrowed to, Jim is laughing, they've been narrowed to 200. But it's an extremely busy time and session, and I'm going to just give you a couple of quick examples. I could spend the rest of the hour talking about, which I won't do, but I want to point out a couple of things. Yesterday, I got an email from SWACA, okay, as did all of the advisory council. There's finally tomorrow, there's testimony on a bill to increase the Medicaid asset limit from the current $1,600 asset limit to $10,000. And to remind folks, $1,600 asset limit is how much you have to have left before you can do Medicaid. It was the lowest in the country. It was set in the 1970s, okay? California has no more asset limits. They got rid of the asset limit as a Medicaid base. States like Maine, for example, it's 10,000. So again, getting it finally to this level makes a lot of sense. And it's been a real push. And so that's happening on Thursday.
Sorry, Peter, what did you say that they wanted to be 10,000?
$10,000, yeah.
And who's pushing it, SWAC?
I'm sorry?
Who's pushing this through, this bill?
Well, SWAC is really, and the other 5 state agencies on aging are pushing on that. 2 other hearings tomorrow. One is to increase preventive dental services available under Medicaid benefits. There haven't been any, and there certainly should be. Again, as we age longer and longer, our teeth are more and more important, not just for your dental health, but for your whole well-being. And the third bill will be to compensate spousal caregivers. Again, this is happening in other parts of the country, has already happened. We don't think it's going to happen this year, but certainly to start to set that up, okay? So that's one thing. Last night I got an email from Matt Blumenthal, and he said, I authored House Bill 5328 to protect long-term care policy holders by limiting premium increases. And so speaking personally, I had long-term care for almost 30 years, and it got so expensive that 2 years ago I had to cancel it because I could not afford it, because it was going up like it's some ridiculous amount, 30%, things like that. They got a bill here, and it would prohibit insurers from requesting premium hikes that exceed the annual average consumer price index for urban consumers for policies held 15 years or more. It will cap all premium increases at 5%, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it's got his attention, it's got his focus, okay? He's also working diligently on making sure that what we achieved last year with absentee ballots and early voting moves ahead. Our Secretary of State is, who's responsible for this, candidly, has been dragging her feet. And again, we're not going to let this slip through the cracks.
Good.
I mean, what we've accomplished, we need to move forward on. Are there things that will need to be done? Yes, absolutely. Like how many days, for example, maybe we have too many days. The absentee ballots, maybe they don't have to go into another envelope. The mechanics can be modified, but the whole point is we're not going to step back from what we've got.
Sue's got a question?
Yeah, Peter, are any of our representatives directly involved with these hearings or whatever? I mean, should we be in touch with Duff or Ms. Miller or Blumenthal?
Great question. Senator Billy Miller is a real advocate of seniors. She really is, and so she really represents seniors very well. So she's on top of a lot of these issues. As is Senator Duff, okay? We are essentially newly represented, at least the second term, by Tracy Mara. And there's I can talk about that one, right? There's something going on here. An act concerning municipal electric aggregation programs. And I'll try to simplify it real quick, okay? Towns are saying that they will buy the electricity for everybody in the town, and they will decide who that provider will be. And if you don't like it, then you have to opt out of it.
Mm.
It's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. She is new to that commission, okay? And she needs to be educated on it, and she is being educated on it. But again, I think it's important to look at something like that and say, it doesn't make sense. I mean, right now,
Does she think it doesn't make sense? How educated does she have to get?
pardon?
Tracy Mara.
Well,
does she
again,
understand?
she's the senior Republican on that committee now.
Yeah.
But to listen to the pros and
Yeah,
cons.
she's very sharp,
okay?
though. I'm
Yeah.
sure she's educated on it.
But
It sounds like she
again,
has to be educated.
there are towns that love this idea, and it's not a good idea, and AARP opposes it. So that's just one quick example. I don't want to get into the weeds on it at this point in time, but to answer your question, they all need to be involved. We have two representatives for this town that we hardly ever see. One is CeCe Mayer, and one is
She just has a
Bill
tiny,
O'Day,
tiny little.
both of whom have pieces of this town. And I have not been able to meet with them. I should continue to try because it's a very small part of their constituency. But, so the point is to be aware of it and just to look at the issues and then say, who's listening? Duff is a listener. It's so important.
Sounds like Matt Blumenthal is too.
Yeah,
And Matt
and
Blumenthal is
Tracy
doing,
Mara is
right,
too, I would
Matt
say.
Blumenthal is
She's not
listening,
very
and is working on issues for us, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, good.
They did a legislative session with CeCe Meyer and a few people up in Canaan. It was really good turnout and whatever. So we're thinking we should have one down here in Darien.
Be a good idea.
These same people, make sure
Be-
Billy
it would
Miller's
be-
there.
it would
Duff
be a-
would come and just bring some of these issues to our community here. I think it would be really good.
They should be initiating it, but yeah, that's great.
No, but we have to make sure.
I just pulled a couple of more just to illustrate what we're dealing with, okay? There's a bill, an act prohibiting telecommunication companies from charging customers to receive paper bills. So telephone companies would like to charge customers to receive paper bills.
Crazy.
It's going to be defeated.
Good.
But it's there. It's there, and it's an issue. Another one would be an act concerning cryptocurrency, pig butchering scams, and asset forfeiture. What's happening is there's a real scam developing now where people are being called and they're saying, I represent your bank, and your account looks like it's being compromised. There's a way to get around this, which is to do cryptocurrency. They get people to these crypto machines. And by the way, I heard yesterday that there's a coin machine at a Costco, not necessarily a walk, but they're all over. And so they get people to go to these machines, put their money in, and of course, it's gone. It's gone. And there have been no penalties. Well, this bill will start to enact penalties.
Good.
The same kind of penalties that people who do banking fraud are going to be dealing with.
That's important.
And the last one is the coupon bill, which that's moving forward, and
Right.
that's the bill where electronic coupons, I don't know what the
They
number.
already did it at Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stop and Shop has changed it already?
Right.
Yeah.
How great is
Well,
that?
I
Well-
know. Well, at least the one I go to in Norwalk.
And
Oh, we gotta check the Darien one.
Yeah.
No,
and
it
let me
does.
read you what.
Does? You has? Okay, good, that's
What-
great
I
news.
just
Let
haven't
me
seen
read you
it
what
yet.
Tars-
Digital coupons, everything that's been.
Let me
Okay,
read you
that's
what
one.
Target does if you,
Awesome.
if you shop at Target. Target allows customers to enter their phone number at the checkout to apply the digital savings.
yeah, that's,
I get that at CVS too, right?
Stop and Shop
And
is doing
Walgreens
it
and
here.
Stop and
Walgreens,
Shop.
same way.
And
Right,
online.
but the key is, what Mary was just saying was that the good news is, it sounds like the Stop and Shops, maybe they watch TV 79, in fact, have taken some action already, which is awesome.
Yeah, apparently you just scan, I mean, I have to do it on my phone anyway, but apparently you just scan your card and it'll automatically download all the coupons.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Actually,
Love
I'm
it.
just gonna do that too. It's easier than going on
Yeah,
and the app.
great.
Offline does it too, because I
No,
just
it
did
used
it
to
this
be
morning. I got $25 savings.
Nice. Well, there you go. We like being effectual. That was quick.
morning.
Busy in the morning.
Okay.
It's a good article.
That's great. That's really great. Anything else, Peter?
I have a piece of new business that we'll get to.
Okay. And then Chris, what's going on at At Home in Darien?
Okay, a couple things. One, Ally mentioned the loan closet, and just another example how we work together with a kind of similar constituents. big, full-size wheelchairs are very difficult at times for us to maneuver in the handicap van. So there have been a few occasions where we've worked with Ally's team to get a transport wheelchair to be able to help. So that loan closet is amazing, and we've probably used it as much as anybody, or at least,
And you deliver for us sometimes
and
to
we
people.
deliver for you too, yeah. The passenger van, we've now done 3 group events with it. They've been smaller events. I think I mentioned the holiday event, holiday concert. We went to Monday night at the movies, and then we also had an event last week with Compass Real Estate, a bingo event. It was great. We had 24 people who went to there, and I think 4 people came via the van. The good news is it's doing what we had hoped, what I had hoped, is that about 50% of the people who've ridden in the passenger van so far haven't ridden with us otherwise. So it's expanding, our reach to get other people. So we've got a van committee that is working on the utilization of that. Sue has done a lot of, Sue's all over the place.
I'm the chairman of the van committee, oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, and when she sleeps for 2 hours, she dreams of all this. But she and the others on the committee have put together a schedule of events, and we're working on those now. There are symphony concerts,
It's going to take
plays.
us time to get up and running because there's so many different plays, museum openings, the Orchestra Lumos concerts, and we need to get seniors to sign up and then figure out how we'll have group tickets. The Orchestra Lumos is actually going to give us a discount if we bring a group. So, but the logistics of it all are going to take some time to get in order.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Well,
Yeah.
the committee's figuring that out. And Peter, I just thought, I don't know if we've publicized the tax preparation for seniors with our newsletters, but your group, by all means, if somebody ever calls, that if somebody calls, that you give us a call. We've brought some people in the past and would love to do that again. And then Out and About, we're working on right now. One of the articles in Out and About, kind of in terms of Mather Center and At Home in Darien and Allinger Human Services. Well, there's a gentleman who we're going to be writing about, who actually, I was amazed, was in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam.
Whoa.
Yeah, and a frequent visitor to the Mather Center, and so we're very excited, and it was great to talk to him and write that up.
Curious who it is. Okay, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
We'll wait in
Okay.
suspense.
Okay.
What's his name?
I know, that's what I was
It's
saying.
Pat Lombardo.
Very cool.
Yeah. Still drives, I won't say his age, but it's nearing
Patsy.
milestones. Patsy,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing.
And then,
Heroes still walk among us.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, it really is humbling to sit and talk to him and some of the experiences.
I think he's 97.
Oh, wow.
98,
That's
I think, or he's turning 98, yeah, and drives and, but great.
Full of life.
And full of life, yeah. And there are a number of events that we are adding to the At Home in Darien schedule to get seniors to engage with each other more, and a couple of changes. Each year we have the DCA luncheon in the fall, where we invite seniors, and we typically get about 100 people. We get a guest speaker. We're moving that into the spring, so that's going to be May 29th. And we're going to have a guest speaker there. And then we are going to have a summer beach party again at Weed Beach, which we did last year for the first time. Had about 65 people. Again, we sponsored and co-sponsored that, both of those. And then we're going to do a signature event that will be new in the fall, which we will announce hopefully shortly.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Great. Questions for Chris? Hearing none. Any other old business? Hearing none. Peter, I know you've got some new business.
I do.
Let's pull this up. Let's find it.
One of my many folders here, here it is. Eric Rosenberg is the chairman of the East Hampton, Connecticut Commission on Aging. East Hampton has a population of about 13,000 people. he has requested that the state undertake a survey of all commissions on aging, which hasn't been done in a long time, to see who has them, what's their premise, how they work, et cetera. AARP Connecticut, Laura Duncan is going to be involved in it. She's the director up there. Claire Coate, who is a statewide coordinator for Department of Aging on Senior Centers, is going to be a part of it. Michael Werner is the legislative aging policy analyst on our Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, and Equitable Opportunity. That's the organization that the Commission that the Department of Aging was folded into 9 years ago. A huge mistake, but it's never been repaired. And then 2 interns, one from Yale and one from the Central Connecticut State University. And then I'm involved in it as a policy fellow for the state. And we're going to be doing a survey. So I just wanted to alert, and what I would like to do is send you some materials as they unfold that kind of describes what they're trying to do and to see how we may or may not want to participate.
Good.
And again, I made the point that our commission is primarily one that looks inward to make sure that our town has the very best services for seniors, but that we learn from other locations as well. And what they're finding is, as I said, that lots of locations do not have commissions on aging. Greenwich has a Gold Star one, as you would expect. Stamford has none.
Wow.
Stamford has Kathleen Bordelin, who heads up Silver Source, great gal, and she and a couple of people advised the mayor of Stamford on seniors. Bridgeport, the Commission on Aging, are the 5 directors of their senior centers. Norwalk does not have one. They have a municipal agent, and so it's all over the place. So we don't have, unlike maybe municipal agents, we have 169. And again, some of them have gone away. Some towns have done away with their commissions on aging as they
ain't going to get rid of us.
as they decide, for example, it's more important to have a
That's a good
commission
question.
dealing with disability or transportation. So
Cool.
I just want, so if you will, I'd be glad to feed that and then
Love it.
take a look at it, and we'll see what we might want to do, if anything.
Sue's got
One
some.
more other new business,
Yeah.
just reading the New York Times, they recommend, this is important conversations to have before you die, but indeed, just reminding everybody out there that to have a living will and to designate a healthcare power of attorney. I mean, this is something we don't think about much, but it is, something to start thinking about when everybody's healthy and well, and figure out who in your family you would like to have direct traffic
No
or what
question.
have you when you're unable.
Everyone over the age of 18 should have a will,
Yeah.
power of attorney, which is for finances, and then Connecticut has a combined living will healthcare proxy. If you don't want the living will, you can just do a healthcare proxy. Absent that, if you become incapacitated, you get to be next door, if you're a Darien resident in the Darien New Canaan probate court, having a conservator appointed.
Right.
And you can talk about Britney Spears, you can talk about anybody you want to. It is a disastrous procedure. So
And
if you-
expensive.
Expensive, attorneys involved, doctors involved, it's a disaster. So having these documents in place is critical.
But a
And you don't have
healthcare-
to be done by a lawyer, no offense, Joe.
Correct, no, a healthcare proxy you can get online.
You can just get 'em online, I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And-
There's a
A
big
healthcare
ad.
power of attorney.
No,
right?
no, no, not in
Is that
Connecticut,
different?
not in Connecticut. Connecticut used to do that. Okay, you ready? Power of
Well, I'm
attorney
glad
is,
to
there you
learn
go.
this.
Power of attorney is now limited in Connecticut to finance, okay? They call it a healthcare representative or a healthcare proxy to avoid this exact problem. There used to be, in the Connecticut power of attorney, you could designate somebody for healthcare decisions, right? But what happened then if your healthcare proxy and your financial healthcare power of attorney disagreed or are different people at all, okay? So they wanted to make sure that the healthcare proxy could be somebody different from your financial. And I talk about this all the time, which is you may have a kid who's really good at finances, but you wouldn't want him talking with a doctor. And you might have a kid who's really good with a doctor who sucks at his or her finances. So you can actually split that role. So one's doing finances and one's doing healthcare. But healthcare representative, healthcare agent, and yes, other states would call power of attorney
Yeah,
for
I mean,
healthcare.
I'm just reading from
Correct.
the article.
Precisely. So but I love what Connecticut has done, which is make it very clear. So when you name a healthcare representative, he or she does not have a financial role other than working with your power of attorney to decide, for example, where you're going for rehabilitation or assisted care or things of that nature, because those kind of decisions are both, right? Where do you go for healthcare? Can you afford that place? Right? So, I mean, that's the kind of thing. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that is absolutely critical. Because whenever I hear about these conservatorships, I'm going, oh, so poor planning. All you had to do is as pointed out by Ally, it's online. 2 witnesses and a notary and you're good, right?
Joe, just to follow up, the other thing is important. If you already have all those in place, review them regularly.
Totally.
I just updated mine.
Good.
Oh my God, there was stuff in there. There were people who are no longer amongst the living.
Right. Correct.
And I don't want them representing me.
Right. Yeah, I say every
They won't be very hard.
It's
Get in touch
kind
with
of
Right.
difficult.
3 to 5
Don't
years,
worry,
look
of
at
course
them, pull them out of a
they
drawer.
would.
Every 3 to 5 years, see what you think. I mean, that's a huge
I
issue.
couldn't believe it.
All right, we're past 10 o'clock, so I'm going to give you 2 more pieces of information before I move. Be sure to be here at next month's meeting, because I've got Marie Allen, president of SWACA, coming to talk to
Oh,
us.
we wanna
So
talk
that
to
will be
her.
good stuff, okay? And then May meeting, Mindy Chambrelli, director of health, town of Darien, will be speaking to us. So we've got 2 great speakers coming up. I'm still going to keep working on Parks and Rec, so hopefully we get our friend there to come speak to
So
us.
March, it's the 19th.
March is the 19th, correct? And then May 21st for Mindy Chambrelli coming to talk to us on Darien Health. So both of those should be very interesting meetings.
19th.
And so we're good. Any other business for today?
No.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mary. Second, Sue. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Joe.